Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. According to one of my guests, in a previous life, I was a monk. So I will put my hood up and I will be ready to do a little chanting with my guest, a returning guest. I'm glad she's with us here on the program, Marcia Martin. And she has a book that we're going to talk about too, along with other aspects, sex, power, and transformation. It's the inside story of the rise of the self-help empire, and she was involved in a big way. We'll find out more about that. Marcia, thanks for coming back. I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Thank you. Me too. I've always enjoyed you, so this is fantastic.
First of all, we'll dive into this whole the whole self-help. I started referring to it not because I had a problem with self-help, but because it just made more sense to talk about it from the standpoint of personal growth and development.
Yeah.
Or we could even take it to the next step with that one word that I've already mentioned, personal transformation.
Sure.
What was it? And we'll start here. Obviously, this is part of what is in your book as well. But what was it, the catalytic moment, and there's the book, that started you on this path back, what was it, in the late 70s?
Early 70s.
Early 70s.
Late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. I'm older than you think.
No. Hey, I'm 65. So there you go. But what was it that told you inside, I need to do something here. I need to be a better person, and I need to help other people to be better people.
Well, mostly it was I wanted to help other people. So, and it wasn't even being a better person. It was discovering who they really were so that they could actually utilize their personal power to create what they wanted. Because I think everybody is perfect from the beginning. It's not that you need fixing. It's just that you have obstacles in front of you don't know how to get rid of. But my story started because I'm a baby boomer. So I was raised in a generation that had the Vietnam War going on, and as a young girl, protesting Vietnam and wanting peace, and being in San Francisco at the beginning of the flower children and the hippies, and so it was all about love
and strawberry fields forever.
Yeah. And I had an aunt who was a clairvoyant teacher and an esoteric astrologist, kind of a shaman-like person.
Oh, wow.
And who taught spirituality and also taught how to heal and taught metaphysics. And really, I interned with her, and she instructed me in learning all about the energy of being a human being and metaphysics and how to meditate and how to go within and how to be still and how to connect with the higher power and how to manifest and all of those wonderful things that eventually what self-help or personal development became about. And so I went to a training. It was the first training that Werner Erhard ever led, who was the founder of EST, Erhand Seminars Training, which became Landmark Forum. And in that training, he was teaching a course called Mind Dynamics. It was in February of 71. And when I took the training, it not only really helped me to discover more about myself and how to be more responsible and powerful, but I realized it was teaching some of the same things that my aunt had been teaching me. And I felt it was a way for the masses to learn about personal development and all of the secrets of how to be effective and what transformation was and personal responsibility that I'd been learning from my aunt. So I really went to work with Werner right away because I thought I could be of help to bring this to more and more people. So that's how it all began.
Would you say that that period of time was a sort of a spiritual renaissance?
I think it was. I mean, I guess it was the Renaissance. It was young people, hippies, we were called in San Francisco, who were against war.
Mhm.
And we were, it was the time of Richard Nixon was the president. So there was a lot of that kind of thing going on. And we were against the corruption and we wanted world peace and we wanted people to love each other. And of course, it was the beginning of people smoking marijuana more than they had ever done before and exploring their minds, exploring their creativity and discovering more things about themselves. And it was the beginning of many of the original self-help programs. So Jose Silva was just starting up the Jose Silva mind control courses. Um, uh, Christian Science was teaching you how to meditate and go within. Alexander Everett had discovered and put together the Mind Dynamics course, which was what Werner was teaching. So, and Michael Murphy and George Leonard had started Essalon out in Big Sur. And so that whole topic was about there's more human potential. In fact, it was called the Human Potential Movement. Which nobody knows what that means anymore. Like you say, now
Yeah.
you know self-help or personal development. But in the beginning, it was that there was a possibility as a human being, you could have more potential than you were realizing and express yourself in such a way that you could create more creativity and wealth and happiness and joy. And that was the beginning of us all kind of being and wanting more of that kind of training. So, yeah, that's what was going on. It was wild in San Francisco and wonderful. And, people were living together. We were like every group of people would get together and rent a house. And then you'd have 10 or 12 people in the same house that had come from different directions. And it was all about love and peace. And it was a wild time.
And the more things change, the more they stay the same because we seem to be experiencing in a less, I'm going to say a less organized way, at least my observation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
We're experiencing the same sequence of events that were happening in the 60s and early 70s. And I was a kid. I'm a baby boomer too.
Yes, you are.
And I'm sitting and watching what's going on and I'm going, no, this is crazy. I mean, the only way that we're going to get back to some semblance of, oh, how do I want to put this? Personal responsibility, let's put it that way, is that individuals have to do the work, which is what you were doing back in the 60s and early 70s. It was individuals who started to do the work,
Yeah.
develop these programs, assist people. I went through EST and I went through LifeSpring, not EST. I went through LifeSpring, not EST.
LifeSpring with John
Uh,
Hanley. I helped John Hanley with LifeSpring and helped him to expand that. I was
yep.
counseling and coaching Betty Spriel, who ran the Los Angeles division of LifeSpring. So I know LifeSpring well.
And that was in the early 80s. And then in the
Yep.
90s with my first wife, um, we went through Omega and Delta Vector, which was
Yep.
started by
Yep.
George Adair, not the famous one, the printer. He had a printing company called Papago Printing, but he ran these programs that were based upon the teachings of certain philosophers like Teilhard de Chardin and so forth, talking about the 0 point, and I've had people on talking about that. Greg Braden's been on here talking about that and
Oh,
all of his other
wonderful.
works.
Sure.
Then we've got people like Lynn McTaggart talking about the field, and I've had
Great friend
Bruce
of mine.
Lipton.
Love that woman. Yep.
Yeah, and the list goes on. Barbara
Yeah.
Mark, the late Barbara Marks Hubbard.
Other great friend of
She
mine.
oh she had her on in 2007. I can't believe it's
Wow.
been 28
Long
years.
time.
And she was one of my early guests, first guests for the program Tell Me Your Story. And she
Wow.
shared the analogy that we are going through the birth pangs. Now,
Yes.
she didn't define when they started. All I know is when she shared it, it was 2007. And I wish this kid would be born someday.
Well, an interesting thing is the age of Aquarius, which we've been talking about for years and years and
Yeah.
years and years, as if it's been here,
Hmm.
actually just came into existence in February of this year.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it really is now the beginning of what everyone had been talking about for so many, actually hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, about what needed to transform with humanity.
Now, we went from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. All
Yes.
right. However, if you look at the zodiac in a circular or clock fashion, Pisces comes after Aquarius in that format. Okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking ages here. Why what is from your knowledge, your awareness, what's the big difference between the Piscean and the Aquarian ages that, as you say, we've just entered into in February?
Well, for me, the Aquarian age is really the time where truth gets exposed and all of the things that have been breaking down and not working, all the structures have been broken and are collapsing. And the age of Aquarius is the reformation or the transformation or the beginning of a new age of light. And if
Hmm.
you notice on the chart, all of when you go around the circle, every sign has a particular animal, and Aquarius is the only sign that has a human being, and it's the water bearer. All of
Oh,
the other signs are animals, like Pisces is the fish,
yeah.
Leo is the lion. So the
Cancer the
only,
crab.
yep, the human being is the bearer of truth or knowledge,
Hmm.
and the opening up of the choice of which way we're going to go, what are we going to do, how's this going to unfold here, a new paradigm, so to speak. And my friend and the person that you said you had interviewed, Len McTaggart, talks
Hmm.
about the field, and she
Hmm.
talks about all of this also in terms of things are opening and a new paradigm is coming. So
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to me to take a look at these different aspects. I mean, I remember back in the late 70s, everybody was talking, obviously, yes, about the age of Aquarius. I don't know that they ever defined when it was supposed to begin, but we were going, okay, whether you like it or
yeah.
not, you're going. Then there was the harmonic convergence, I think was in 87. And I'm not remembering a whole lot in the 90s, although I'm sure there were some events that were taking place. And then we got to Y2K in 2000, and everybody was freaking out. And I'm one of those knuckleheads who did pay the $29.95 for the software. But before January 1, 2000, I uninstalled it because I realized it was too late. I'd already spent the money, but I uninstalled it saying, this is ridiculous. And I remember it was a Friday. January 1st was, or I should say, December 31st was a Friday. And I always went to the gas station to gas up my car on a Friday, right? And a woman came in and she was freaking out. Oh my God, I got to get my gas. Things are going to shut down. And that. And I said, stop, 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 stop. Lady, ma'am,
Calm down.
I work for a local radio station. All right. We have been getting national and international news from around the world telling us about the transition from December 31st to January 1st from the international date line eastward or westward. And I can tell you with full confidence, nothing is happening. Nothing. So calm down. Go ahead and get your gas, but just relax. And of course, then 2012 rolls around and people are freaking out again. And my wife had the best explanation of why the Mayan calendar ended on 2012, December of 2012. And it's
Yeah.
because the guy who was, we assume it was a guy, who was chiseling out the calendar, the Mayan calendar, he basically took his chisel and his hammer and he tossed them in the ear and said, I've had enough. I'm done. And walked away. That's
That was
why
it.
okay. Now, I don't
Well,
know
your
if there's,
wife's a wise woman, I'm sure.
she is very, very much so. And again, I'm sure there have been some other things that have happened since then here into 2025. I know that we take a look at dates in the calendar and we just went through 11/11. And a friend of mine had his girlfriend at the time. His girlfriend was Anne Heche. I kid you not.
Wow.
Oh, she was a pistol. Oh, I loved it. Her energy was incredible when she would
I
come into the
bet.
studio. But when she passed away, every time he turned around and looked at a clock, it was 11/11.
Wow.
And he took that as a sign from her, And so when 11/11 rolled around this year, it was also, of course, Veterans Day for those people who celebrate that or recognize that. But I know that there's always this sort of hoopla online in social media about 11/11 and the importance of those numbers, not only in terms of the date, but also every day, twice a day, we have 11/11. And I've noticed that too. I'm curious as to this is a little more metaphysical in conversation here, but I'm curious. Do you recognize those kinds of things as any kind of a sign or a symbol of, or any meaning whatsoever in terms of, someone sent me information about 222, 222 or 333 and so on and so forth, not only in terms of dates, but in terms of times on the clock, and those kinds of things. What are your thoughts when seeing patterns like that? What does that say to you, if anything?
Well, I think that you can create and interpret signs into anything. And I don't know the answer to your question. I can only tell you that for me, I haven't studied numerology that well to understand it, but do know that mathematics is quite an interesting subject. Think about Einstein and what he created in terms of mathematics and relativity and all of the things that make up the universe and how it works. And I do know, studying with my aunt, how I learned it was that everything has a vibration, everything has its own energetic place in the universe, and everything is connected. And vibrations affect vibrations, and energy causes reaction. And so, if it's all connected, I'm sure there are signs. And I think we are so creative as human beings, we can interpret it and add our meaning to the signs any way we wish. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that there is an order, and I think mathematics has something to do with that order. I haven't studied it, and I don't know that much about it. I take a different kind of stance, or I get my information a different way than seeing signs. I'm pretty much connected with my intuition, and I kind of see where patterns are taking us. And so it's like seeing the future, really. I
Mm.
can estimate or predict how somebody's life is going to turn out based on the choices they've made and the consequences that I know happen from those choices. And if that person is rigid in those particular choices or those beliefs, and that's where I think transformation comes in, because transformation for me, and you were saying, what is it? It's really what happens with the natural process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And it's certainly not an easy journey. And it's not a safe journey. It's very dangerous. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to flippantly say, oh, the purpose of the training is to transform your life. And people would ask me, what does transformation mean? And I would say, like the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Um, that's very simple.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is the caterpillar has to decompose, actually break down into a soup and go back to its original constitution of whatever it was made up of, and then reconstitute itself into a new species. So it's not that a caterpillar's eyes become a butterfly's eyes. It's a whole new formation of a whole new way of being. And I consider personal transformation is when you're willing to let go of your old belief systems and your old way of doing things and your habitual habits and your solid beliefs, and be willing to kind of let them go and go back to nothing and then reconstitute a way that works for yourself. So I'm not into the that sign, this sign, another sign, numerology so much, but I think that it all fits
Hmm.
and that it's all perfect and connected.
Wasn't it you who said in our last conversation that you had to go through the goop?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the themes of my book is it's very interesting because here I am, a key architect and a pioneer, an original pioneer of the human potential movement. And, people stand on my shoulders. Now it's a self-help industry.
Hmm.
It's a $48 billion industry. And so I remember when there was no coaches or coaching
Hmm.
and that whole thing. Now everybody's a coach. You have a life coach, you have a spiritual coach, you have a sports coach, you have every kind of business coach. But I remember when there weren't any coaches.
Yeah.
Maybe there were mentors and we looked up to people, but it wasn't an industry and we didn't pay for somebody to be our coach. But it's a good thing to have as a coach in your life. So things have really opened up and progressed, but at the same time, there's always the potential for the underbelly to have a shadow. And one of the themes of my book is that if you're going to go through this journey of transformation, find a teacher or find a guru or find a book or find a class or find a program or find a course or a seminar or a workshop. Don't let that thing that is teaching you become your voice.
Mm.
Make sure you keep your own voice and you're in touch with yourself and you use whatever outside method of technology or methodology or wisdom or input or feedback or any kind of teaching that's given to you as a resource that you're considering to see if that works for you. And keep in touch with your own inner wisdom and your own inner voice so that you and have the courage to stand up for what that is. Because what happens is when we give up our voice to be someone because they're a charismatic guru, it can take you down a path that you don't really want to go down. And I saw that happen in many of the movements. I helped John Hanley expand LifeSpring. I was consulting and coaching and ran Tony Robbins' business for 2 years in the early 80s when he was, and I helped take him national and helped him launch his first book. So I've been around some of the great transformational trainers. I co-created the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield. All of these people that are trainers today, many of them were my students when I was starting off in the early days. So I've seen how power can be addictive. I've seen how someone can start off wanting to help and then get rigid about their answer is the answer for everyone. And if you don't have your own courage and your own voice and you haven't skilled yourself and trained yourself to be able to go within and connect to that voice, then you could be just like a stick in a rushing river, just taken away and down the river you go.
Yeah.
And so you have to be careful at the same time.
And I'm not putting myself in that rarefied air by any means, but what I share here on the program, that's mine. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not putting that on anybody else. And I
that's
share
right.
some pretty crazy stuff sometimes by some people's assessments. And if you choose to take it on, that's on you, not me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I like the two words to describe, not a trainer. Two words that would, I think, better describe a facilitator or a mentor. Now,
I love those words. Yeah, very
I had a
good.
dear friend who has since left the earth. Her name was Ramona. She was a good friend. I knew her for 44 years. Even while I was even I had the biggest crush on this woman, like you would not believe. Her husband. Are you ready for her husband's name was Richard.
Mhm.
Last name Richards.
Oh
All
my
right.
God.
And I'm thinking, oh, I could easily take his place. No problem. But she was a great teacher. She was my acting coach uh,
Uh-huh.
in later years. When I got married to my second wife, she would not allow me to do anything in the class of a romantic nature
Oh.
because she kind of knew where she was also very intuitive
Mm.
where my wife was coming from and who she would not my wife would not appreciate that back then. Okay. But she gave me some guidance. The first was in a book called The Impersonal Life by James Banner.
Oh, I've not read that book, but it sounds interesting.
Goes back to the 30s. It is channeled and it is basically God talking to you. No, it's not considered the word of God, okay? Let's not go crazy. But what is so fascinating is in the conversation, basically, what God is saying to the reader is, you are my manifestation. And
Mm.
when you tap into what you call through past life regression therapy, when you tap into those past lives, you are not tapping into lives that you have lived in the past. You are tapping into my manifestation.
Wow.
And the first thought that came to me was, well, doesn't that change the whole concept of doing the regression and so forth? And I realized, no, it doesn't, because you're doing the regression to learn some things about self that hopefully will take you forward, maybe get you unstuck, etc., and go through this transformational process that we want to talk about as we continue talking with Marcia Martin. Her book, please get a copy. Go to marciamartin.com. We'll be linked. Sex, Power, and Transformation. It is the inside story of the rise of the self-help empire as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. Who knows? Maybe I'll don a brown robe or something with the hood and all that stuff. But in the meantime, in between time, I don't have a church. But what I do have is, I'd like to think, is a certain amount of wisdom to know that I don't have all the answers. God forbid I should ever have all the answers, because I believe that once you do, you leave. Okay? You don't need to be here anymore. So I say my father, who has left, has all the answers, my elder sister, and many others, including my friend Ramona, who gave me that book. But she also told me of some very interesting things. And I'm curious as to if there is, from your perspective today, here in 2025, if there is more of a spiritual or metaphysical component to the self transformational industry or realm, if you will. You can call it self help if you want. But in terms of what we're talking about here, are you aware, or were you aware even back then in the 60s and early 70s, that there was a spiritual component to this that you really you couldn't escape it? It seemed it was I was going through in the 80s. It seemed self-evident.
Well, I think for sure there's a spiritual element, but from where I come from, the spiritual element is what exists overall.
Hmm.
So it's not like it's in a particular time period.
Right.
It's more what you consider spiritual. And I consider that there is life is spiritual and that there is breath and that there are rivers and trees. And for me, that's all spiritual. And I think that there are many answers in nature, just like you were talking about signs. If I look out in nature, I can find the answers to most of my questions. When I coach somebody on how to grow a business, I explain to them, how a forest becomes a forest. It doesn't start with a forest. It starts with a seed and a tree, and it grows. And so if you want to build a great organization, find one client that you serve well, and that client will duplicate itself. In other words, they will go out and share what you have given them and buy it also. So it's all the same answer of how things are created and how things grow. And I think if you look at the ocean, for me, it explains the spirituality of the connectedness of it all. Because there's a great body of water, but when it crashes on the rocks of the shore, there's a spray that comes up from that body of water, and there are individual droplets of water that make up that spray. They're not disconnected in terms of they're still the same substance of the ocean, but they have their own expression. And I think that as a human being, we are all our own expressions of the divine. And so we're all connected at some level, but in this form, in a body, with a personality and with emotions. I'm the expression of Marcia Martin, and you're the expression of the Reverend Dr. D, and we all have our own personalities and beliefs. But if we can learn how to go to the place where we experience the connection, then we can hold that as a knowing. And I think that's a spiritual moment, that when you realize you are connected. And I have learned from many mentors how to access that particular part of who I am. And they've all said the same thing, is you have to be quiet. You have to be still and quiet. And most people haven't developed the skill of being still and quiet. And so meditation is a form where you can connect to your inner wisdom. But to be in a meditation, you have to be willing and learn how to be still and quiet. Because the ocean, and when you think about it again, looking at the ocean, when it's raging and when there's a terrific storm, you could throw the Empire State Building into it and you wouldn't see the ripples or the effects that it had. But when it's so still at night on a clear moonlit night, that it's like glass, you could take a smallest pea and throw it into the ocean and you could see the ripples. And that's like our mind. When we hold a thought in our mind, it will grow into eventually becoming a thing in the universe. But if we can't hold it, and we can't hold it if we have a raging mind, if it's raging like that raging ocean, we can't focus on it. So we have to learn how to keep our minds still. And that's a skill set. And how our body learns is through practice. So you can't just sit down and start meditating, for example, or being still. You have to start with where you are. And if where you are is you're moving all over the place and you got lots of thoughts in your head, then don't say to yourself, I can't meditate. That's where you're beginning. Be willing to be a beginner and keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it till you get better at it. Just like when you rode a bicycle, you couldn't ride a bicycle either. You had to come back several times before you got good at it. But you learned through practice to ride a bicycle. You didn't learn through a book. Nobody told you how to ride a bicycle and then you could. Lots of people told you how to ride a bicycle and then you found out you couldn't. Your dad, your mom told you, explained to you how to ride a bicycle. But when you got on, you were with your body, and your body only learns through practice. Yeah. So you have to be willing to practice enough that you develop the skill. And the skill of being still is a necessary skill to being an effective human being, because it's the necessary foundation for you to get in touch with your inner voice. And that's very spiritual, I think.
Marcia Martin, my guest here on the program. We're talking about personal transformation. We're talking about her book, Sex, Power, and Transformation, the inside story of the rise of the self-help empire. And this is her memoir, as it were. We hope that you'll go to marciamartin.com. We are linked to her website. Get yourself a copy. I think I asked you the last time, Audible, is it available yet, or is that still being worked on?
I'm working on it right now, but don't let that stop you
No,
from
no,
getting
no,
the copy.
absolutely. You know, if and I have this program on my computer where if I have a PDF of something, I can select all the text, copy
Oh,
it, paste it into this program, and it will read it to me. Now,
wow.
it's not a great voice,
Yeah.
but it gets you started. Although I have enjoyed recording books. Now, with my first wife, who was totally blind, I would record books on cassette, but I would also read to her. I mean, I read one of Ram Dass' really thick
Oh, yeah, you had
books
some
to
big
her.
books. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how long it took. I recorded Gerald Jampolsky's Love is Letting Go of
Yes,
Fear.
Terry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Og Mandino's The Greatest Miracle in the World, which is
Oh,
how
take
she
me
and I
way
met.
back. Sure.
Oh my gosh. I was fortunate enough, and I'm still looking for the reel to reel. I interviewed Og back in the
Wow.
80s when I was working for a radio reading service. Oh my goodness. And I still haven't figured, I have a picture of he and I, and in the picture is a rubber chicken. I don't know why, but it was a rubber chicken in the frame. So there you go.
That's great.
Stay tuned, folks. We've got more coming your way here on Tell Me Your Story. This is a program talking about transformation. We're going to get more in depth with Marcia Martin, who is the author of Sex, Power, and Transformation, which is really what we're talking about today. And I quoted a passage in our last conversation, but I've quoted it many times in the New Testament, where his disciples are watching him perform all of these miracles, and they want to know how to do them too. And again, I'm not King Jimmy, but I'll paraphrase. And his response was, "Oh, you want to know how to do this stuff? Oh, no problem. I'll teach you. But these these things, oh, forget it. I mean, you guys are going to do greater works than these." And I honestly believe, I'm no longer paraphrasing, folks. I honestly believe the greater works is transforming our lives.
Mm.
And I like your analogy. It's probably the best analogy or metaphor of transformation being the caterpillar to the butterfly, and you gotta. I'm quoting you. Go through the goo. But it's true. And what's interesting is that we go through it all the time. I mean, well, in June 5th, we had just buried our dog. And on the 7th, we got in the car and we took a drive up the coast to Cambria. When we came home, on our door was taped the termination of tenancy. And that process, basically, that's when we entered the goo.
Yeah.
Because I am a firm believer in trusting the universe and being guided. I had
Yeah.
been telling my wife for years that we will move when the universe makes a way. Now, I suppose we could have moved sooner than that. We really didn't have the resources to do it. But within a short period of time, we had more than enough resources. So we started looking and looking and looking and looking. Nearly got scammed once. And then August the 10th, I had previously in previous days I had done one of these pre-approvals, for a loan, thinking that my credit score is crap. That's never going to happen. Oh my God, we were actually pre-approved.
That's beautiful.
I was shocked, but I thought, okay, so obviously our plan was to rent, and the universe's plan is to buy. So on the 10th, we met up with a realtor up here on the mountain. We saw about 4 or 5 houses, and she says, "I got one more to show you. Follow me." And we did. And the next thing you know, my wife fell in love with the place because of the gas stove, which I love too, because when the gas is on, it's hot. When the gas is off, it's not.
That's
Love
right.
that. And so we've been going through the goo since the 5th of June, 2025. Now, I guess I could say that the 12th of October, we moved in and unloaded all of the stuff. And it took 9 hours, by the way, to unload all of the stuff. And our living room looked like a warehouse, a very unkempt warehouse. But I'm thinking that that was sort of the beginning of the end of the goo. And I don't think that we recognize,
Mhm.
since I can't think of any other word to use, we don't recognize when we're going through the goo or the transformational process. I'm not a caterpillar. I'm not a butterfly. I'm in the middle. Can you, certainly meditation is one way. Um, we promote listening to the still small voice. Can you talk to us about how we can better recognize where we are along that path? Because I think that a lot of folks it would be helpful, because it's like, when is this going to end kind of thing goes through their mind. And yet, okay, no, because you're not ready yet. Hang in there, that kind of thing. Are there signs, or is there a way in which we can know where we are in that process?
I don't know if you can know where you are, but I do know that there is a perspective that you could take that allows what's happening to occur for you in such a way that it seems easier for the journey. So your perspective is really important in life, because if you ever had seen that picture where there's an old woman and a young woman all at the same
Oh,
time, and
yes.
okay, so but you have to kind of change where you're looking from in
Hmm.
order for the old woman to show up. Then you have to change where you're looking from again for the young woman to show up. And for me, that's how life is it's like what shows up for you is determined by where you're looking from, or the perspective, the point of view that you have. Now, if you notice also in that picture, both exist at the same time. It's not
Hmm.
like they're not both there, but
Hmm.
only one can show up at any instant,
Yeah.
depending on how you're looking from, which perspective you're looking from. So when one looks out into their world, if you considered it's all there, just like the old woman and the young woman, it's all there. And what I mean by that is everything is out there that is working and not working, that is right and wrong, that is good and bad. But what shows up for you? Well, it depends on the frame of reference that you give yourself, or the context in which you live, or the point of view, or the perspective that you have. One of the perspectives that I've found really works well to keep moving as a human being and being able to be effective is to consider that anything that is given to you is a gift, and to welcome the experience. So, what the goop is and the whole process and where am I at in it doesn't really matter
Hmm.
if you consider whatever's happening should be happening, and it's a gift because it's giving you what you need either to learn or to experience or to understand or to something, that it's being given you as a gift so that you will have what you need in order to create what you said you wanted to create. So I consider your job in the universe is to say what you want, and the universe's job is to say how you get it. And so I also consider that if I'm saying my point of view that I'm going to use, because I choose my point of view,
Hmm.
it's not like I'm stuck with the way I look at life. I can look at life, the glass is half full or glass is half empty. It's my choice.
Hmm.
If I consider that I choose to consider everything that happens to me as a gift, and that I welcome the experience, it seems to work out better. It seems to make the journey faster, simpler, more understandable. And I don't think there is any place to get to. I think that most people live their lives trying to get someplace.
Ah.
What the real talent or secret to life is how to be where you are and how to be in present time. And if you're in present time and you're on the ride and in the flow, you will do what needs to be done appropriately to handle the next step,
Hmm.
as long as you're in present time. So there's no
Hmm.
place to get to. There's really a place to come from and a place that you are. And we can have a goal, but if we have our attention out on the goal, once we have made the goal, you see, once you've said, I want to go there, or what I want is, that's already created.
Hmm.
Now what you need to do is be here now.
Yeah.
What's now happening? And how do I move the ball down the field?
Become a part of the process. Don't try to control it. And
Nice.
there's a process or there's a perspective that many people who go through these personal growth programs, as I have experienced, who have a very low self-esteem. They have a very low self-worth, if you will. They do not think they even here belong here, and some people feel so strongly that they no longer do belong. They know they're no longer here. But one of the things that I came across was a passage that said, "Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect." So now we're talking about a comparison to the Creator. And this is obviously if you are of that particular philosophy, and this is fine. And I pondered and pondered and pondered, kind of like Mary, the mother of Jesus, pondered all of the things that she saw him do. And I remembered a line from the Old Testament
Mm,
where God was speaking, and he said, "I am that I am."
yes.
And I thought, okay, so if I'm supposed to be perfect, and the definition, or at least the perspective of the creator is, "I am that I am," and that we are all created not just in his image, but there's more to it than that, but nonetheless, then I got to thinking, well, then to be perfect is just to be, and to
Mm,
be here now, because I am is in the present now, this moment. So I don't have to be good or bad. I don't have to be right or wrong, left or right, white or black, light or dark, or so on and so on. I just, I just, I just be. It's not even grammatically correct, but I just be who I am. And if I can hold on to that, then it doesn't matter. Like you said, I can put out there, this is what I want. And then I stay in my perfection, in my nowness. I have a good friend who has been on this program many times. His name is Billy Mandarino, and he's the nowist. That's the title of his book too.
the nowist, I like it.
Nowist, yeah. And he is constantly talking about it. I mean, in our interview that I had with him not long ago, that's where we went. We stayed in the now. We didn't go into the future or into the past. Um, but at the same time, there are things. For example, my wife and I still have the dream of moving to Ireland, but we're not there. We're not
Yeah,
there. Okay,
that's
what's the deal? When is this going to happen? Okay, well, guess what? I have to let all of that go. I've put it out there. I could badger the universe every day and say, "We want to live in Ireland. We want to." I just go on and on. I could meditate on that phrase. Okay, you're talking about meditating,
yeah.
or I could let it go and just allow myself to be in the flow. Who knows? Maybe this house is part of that process. I don't know, but it's an exciting process. It seems to me that I have to wonder, um, is that a perspective at all that you saw within any of the trainings that you were a part of, or the process of creating the trainings in terms of, because I know this was sort of the developmental process. It was like a Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and I can't put it any other way than they would basically beat you down, and just try to get to the core of who you really are. Okay? And then all day Saturday and Sunday, they were just building you up and getting you excited about being alive and breathing in the air and having a body to move around and do things with, and on and on and on. Was there ever conversation in that regard of saying, look, you have every right to be here because you are here and you are divine. You are doing some great stuff, and we want to encourage you to keep doing that great stuff, and whatever. what was the mindset going through some of these programs, and how did it develop over the years?
Well, I think the training in any of the programs, because I was involved with a lot of different trainings,
Mhm.
the training process is different than after the training. And I think the process of the discussion that you're talking about comes afterwards.
Mhm.
But in the training, there has to be the transformation,
Right.
the beating down and the building up,
Mhm.
the taking away the old piece of who you thought you were, and the allowing you to create a new way to be in terms of what you've discovered about yourself. But I do want to go back to something that you said from the Bible, which is, I am that I am. And there's another way to say it, which I think also is important,
Mhm.
because it talks about, for me at least, the power of language. And if you say it this way, you say, I am that. I am. I am that.
Ah.
I am.
Ooh,
So the I am
okay.
actually creates the thing that you say that you are. I am
Yeah.
happy. I am. I am sad. I am. I am full of evil. I am. I am joyous and wonderful. I am. In other words, I think what part of that message is that we create the thing by saying it.
Yeah.
And I am that, whatever that is. I am confident. I am happy. I am not happy. I am. And that language actually brings the thing that you say that you are into existence.
How about
And
this,
then,
if I may?
yeah,
It says in the New Testament, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Okay, and I'm sitting here and I listen to that over and over again, and I'm going, no, no, no. He's not saying he personally, Jesus of Nazareth, is the way. He's saying that I am is the way.
yes. And that's the power, is the I am.
Yeah.
And each of us have an I am. And each of us use language, and each of us create. And what we're creating
Yeah.
by sharing I am.
Mm. Do you ever look at the world, and are you ever concerned, or is your perspective, it is what it is, and I will be that I am, if you will?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that I don't consider it is the way it is as if you're throwing it away.
No, no,
As
no.
if you're, no, no, and I know you don't think that either. I'm just trying
Mhm.
to explain kind of how I'm taking what you're saying. When I look at it, I don't think of it is the way it is as if, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I look at it, it is the way it is, to be able to confront the way it is. Because most of us live in a world of what it should be. And what it should be isn't what it is. It is what it is, not what it should be. And yet, if you listen to people's conversations, they're spending 90% of the time talking about, well, it shouldn't be this way. Well, I thought it was going to. Well, it should have. Well, you said that if that. And none of what they're talking about even exists,
Yeah.
because they're not really looking at what's so. And it's very simple. One of the things I learned in the early days from Werner when we were working on the EST, growing the EST organization, is that it's a simple mantra: what's so, now what? If you can look at what's so and actually be with what's so, rather than making it wrong, rather than justifying it, rather than defending it, rather than resisting it, rather than
Mhm.
pretending it's not there, but just like, hey, what's so? It's like a tree. You go out and you come in contact with a tree, you don't get pissed off at the tree, right? You deal with the tree as this is where the tree is and what
Yeah.
it's doing. But you
Mhm.
have a husband that comes home and says the wrong thing, then all of a sudden he's an asshole, and like he shouldn't be doing that. And you get pissed off at that, rather than just going, wow, what so is he's obviously expressing himself in this way
Yeah.
that I personally wouldn't choose. But if he chooses to choose it, then that's his business. And I don't think it's going to work out for him, because that choice is going to produce a consequence that's not really that beneficial. However, I want to deal with this the way it is so that I can
Mm.
now say, now what? Do I want to stay with the guy? Do I want to leave the guy? Do I want to tell the guy that I don't appreciate what he's saying while he's being an asshole? But I have to first confront what's so, and not just say, well, is it just the way it is? No, it is the way it is. That's a powerful thing to confront.
Yeah. I know that we don't do that with looking through that telescope out into the universe, watching the universe do its thing. We don't say that. Well, the universe should be this way, and it should be that, and that planet should be over here, and this meteor should be over there.
Right. Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't do that.
No.
We watch and we're in awe. Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Wow. Oh, man. And on the microcosmic level, when we're looking through that telescope, at the subatomic particles, and they're doing the same thing as above, so below, they're doing exactly the same thing, and we're still in awe
Yes.
to a greater or lesser degree. But boy, when we get to here where you and I are living, oh, no, 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 it should. And
Yeah.
that's that old phrase, why are you shooting all over yourself?
Yes.
Now, I want you to put this phrase through your filter and give me your evaluation. That one of our slogans is that we are looking for those new ways of living because the old ways don't work. Just look around you.
Hmm. Well, I think everything is in motion and everything is in change and everything is in movement and everything is either expanding or contracting. And people want to live as if everything will stop or everything will end or everything will get to the place where it's all right or all okay or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you're saying is that you need to really be willing to live in the chaos and the change of the way the universe flows rather than resisting and trying to make it the way you want it because it's not that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would respond.
I do like what one of my guests said in response to tearing down the old institutions that don't work and building new ones. They said, no, 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 no. Do not tear down the old institutions. Build new ones that make the old ones obsolete.
There you go.
You
Well,
know?
that's the same as when people come to me for coaching, because I do individual coaching and I do corporate training and leadership. And when people come to me, I say, if you're sick of this problem, get a bigger problem. Because once you have a bigger problem than the one you're dealing with, that one you're dealing with goes away, trust me. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what you said. You don't like
Yeah.
this problem, get a bigger problem.
Get a bigger one. Get a bigger one. Well, I know too that with books that are out there such as yours and mine is Choices, 5 Steps for Life, and it seems that that's kind of the core of everything is choices. And it's up to us as to what we choose and why we choose it. I love the conversation I had with another one of my guests. We were talking about how you are where you are today because of all of the choices that you've made in the past. And you will be wherever it is that you will be in the future based upon the choices that you make, let's say, today.
Yes.
To which my guest chimed in with an addendum. The choices that you make today will be based upon your perception of what you think the future will be. So if you're a pessimist, you think Armageddon is coming, then you're probably going to choose to dig a hole in the ground and put a bunch of supplies down there and hunker down when the manure hits the fan.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm an optimist and I don't believe that Armageddon is coming. I'm not saying that, it's going to be a bowl of cherries or anything, but the reality is that we will find a way through all of this, or we'll find a way through the goo and become something different on the other side.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier about
Yeah.
you choose your point of view, and
Mhm.
then from your point of view, certain things show up for you. If your point of view is, I'm an optimist, you don't look at life. It doesn't show up for you as if we're all going to hell. If you look at, you see, so the point of view really matters for sure. I also say that you live in today what you spoke last year, and that language brings things into existence. It creates reality. And so what you're actually saying back to the I am, you say it long enough, it becomes real in the universe. So you're living today in what you spoke last year.
Oh, wow. Now I got to go back to last November and go, okay, what was I saying?
Yeah.
I should have written it down. Actually, it wouldn't be that hard to do because all I have to do is go back to the interviews that I did back then, and I'm sure what I was saying, that's what I was saying. And so here we are today, living high atop the in the San Bernardino National
So
Forest.
nice. So nice. So happy for you.
Oh, I just, and I just, I'm amazed. I honestly am at how things have transpired. Quite honestly, I know you said what I said a year ago, but just in what's transpired in the short 6 months
Yeah.
since the beginning of June of 2025. Now, I
Yeah.
know there are other things that have happened prior to that that are part of the process, but I look at that right there as sort of a milestone, if you will. And it's like, this only took 6 months. Really?
Yeah, there
You
you
got to
go.
be normally this takes years, um, and could have, no, but it didn't go the direction that we feared, or I didn't fear this. My wife did. I mean, the first question she asked me when I pulled those things off of the wall outside our cottage where we were living, her first question was, "Are we going to wind up homeless?" And I said, absolutely not. And what I was really saying was, we're not leaving here until we have a place to go. Okay. Now, I know that goes against all the laws and the written this and that and the other stuff. What are they going to do? I'm fortunate. We are fortunate living in California that though I have an understanding and a respect for property owners, it belongs to them.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to usurp their rights. By the same token, could you have just a little compassion, a little understanding? You're going to get your property. I promise you. We're not squatting. Not going to happen. Okay? I was very clear about that. But I told my wife, I said, we're not leaving here until we have a place to go. We finally found a place. It took a little longer than we had hoped, but we finally made it.
Yeah,
And we're
of
here.
course you did.
We stayed in our integrity. That was very important to me too.
Of course.
Was to, and I know that's talked a lot in these programs about one's values, one's beliefs, and integrity. They use the symbol of cellophane. And when you go against your own values or integrity, you poke a hole. And then you poke another hole in that cellophane or paper or whatever. And eventually you have, if you're not living by your ethics or your values and so forth, you've got a piece of cellophane or paper that's like Swiss cheese, you know? So,
Well, it's interesting about integrity because integrity, from my point of view, is not the value itself. The
no.
integrity is that you are in line with your values so that you walk, talk, and believe all the same things because integrity is alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Morality is ethics, not integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Integrity is alignment. So if I feel like the mafia, I have a girlfriend that was a assistant director on the film of Godfather.
Oh,
And she
wow.
was saying, yeah, that they hired the mafia families as consultants to make sure that the movie was lined up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at integrity from a mafioso point of view, then what they believe is the family's most important. And if you're against the family, then we have to kill you. And then if you speak in that way, lined up with that, is go get a hitman if you have somebody you have to take out. And then what you do is go and kill somebody. Well, then you're in integrity for that value. But the integrity itself isn't the value. Integrity is the alignment of the values lined up with how you speak and act.
There was also another analogy aside from the cellophane was the M&M. specifically the peanut M&M, that you had the candy coated shell, then you had the chocolate, and then you had the nut inside. I wish I could remember which of those three elements was with the candy coating and so forth. But I thought that was really kind of cool because you can't have uh, a cohesive M&M if the values aren't aligned up with the morals, aren't aligned up with the ethics,
Yeah, very good.
you know?
Well, then I love M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, regular M&Ms. So it's all good as far as I'm concerned.
I do too. I can only have a few of them, but I love them too. We're talking with Marcia Martin. MarciaMartin.com is the website. We hope you'll go there. Sex, Power, and Transformation, the inside story of the rise of the self-help empire as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We are talking with Marcia Martin, we being me. I go plural every so often on this program. It's really kind of interesting. But I would like to thank you for coming back and sharing with us as we talk about transformation. I think that it's quite apt. The analogy of the caterpillar going from caterpillar to butterfly and that space in between that we do have to go through, and it might be uncomfortable at first, but boy, when you get out the other side and you look back, you're going, wow, I actually made it through.
Mm.
I made it. And that's so exciting. And I kind of say that at the end of every interview. I made it.
Oh, Dr. D, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your conversation with me, and God bless you.
Have you got another book coming out?
I am thinking of my next book. I want to write The Secrets to Be an Effective Human Being.
Oh, I like it. You please touch base with us when you have that one out. That would be an exciting conversation.
Thank you.
I thank you. I'm going to ask you those three questions I asked you before because, hey, time goes on and they might change the answers. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. And we're streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. And we are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music.
Wow.
And you can watch these conversations on YouTube. I hope that you will also subscribe and click notification. And we hope that you'll get a copy of not only our guest's book, but also mine, Choices, 5 Steps for Life, available on Amazon. And if you could go to our tip jar, which is PayPal, and leave us a little donation, a little support to help defray some of they're not huge expenses, but nonetheless, we would appreciate it. And we thank you for those who have helped and to those who will help. And if you go to richarddugan.com, there are links to both Amazon and PayPal at the top of the page. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and spend some time going within listening to that still small voice. With all of that being said, we move to our final 3 questions for our guest. And the first is, who is Marcia Martin?
Who is Marcia Martin? I'm a divine being, and my work is having your life work better.
What gets you up in the morning?
What gets me up in the morning actually is my kitty. And then once my eyes are open and I've fed the kitties, because they're very insistent, what gets me up in the morning is the love of living.
And the final question, what was your best day?
I think it's hard to say my best, but a best day was when I held my puppy Summer, who died in my arms after 10 and a half hours. And I just felt her pass. And I knew her life had been just so joyous and wonderful. And I spent those 10 hours telling her about all of our adventures.
Well, we thank you so much for the time that you've given us on both interviews, and we look forward to having you back when you have your new book out. Give us that title again, or at least
The new
at
book
least the
title?
temporary title. Yeah,
Yep. Secrets to Being an Effective Human Being.
I love it. We look forward to having you back again, and we thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love Talal, Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.